some games.
That wasn't made by him.
So anyway, you do that. We'll talk about what's actually going on in the game. Let's charge the damn mound.
Charging the mound.
So Jeff Hoffman is a Toronto Blue Jay. Blue Jays talked someone into signing with them, so that's good. And he's going to get a few seasons. He's got incentives that could take it up to $39 million. AJ, he did flunk not one, but two physicals, or at least medical reports, with both the Orioles. That's common. That's been a thing for years. And the Braves. Mark Bowman reported about that maybe 30 minutes ago. Yeah. That one just popped up. I don't know if you caught that, but he said, per source, Hoffman had a potential deal that was nixed when he failed a physical with the Braves medical staff. Hoffman also reportedly failed a physical with the Orioles before signing with the Blue Jays. So the Blue Jays are like, yeah, we're good. But, for me, AJ, when the Orioles do it, I'm like, whatever. They always do it. But when the Braves do it, I get a little more concerned.
Yeah, the Braves are a new one. I mean, we've seen teams obviously fail Correa. We saw the Giants and the who was
Mets.
The other one that's failed? The Mets failed them, right? So some teams have a higher thing. The Orioles have done this for years. They've failed a lot of guys over the years. This is the first one I've heard of the Braves. There must be something going on in there. But hey, the Blue Jays finally got somebody. So be excited, Toronto fans.
He sounds excited. I love that.
They did it.
Yeah.
You know him well. I mean, he was just on the Phillies, and he was a gem for them. I mean, it was a huge pickup for them because he was a big part of the Troy Tulowitzki deal back with the Blue Jays, and he was a first-round pick, big deal. And it's taken him up until this point as a reliever to figure it out. Hits the market, wants to be a starter. Market tells him no.
Market says no. There was two teams that wanted him.
As a starter or a reliever?
The Braves and the Orioles.
I know. I love the pitcher. I'm saying he is going to be a reliever for the Blue Jays. They said he might close games for them as far as I saw.
But then there's also number of innings.
Sure.
It pumps it up. So it could be some type of hybrid type of thing.
Maybe multi-inning? Because the incentives weren't based around him going 120, 130. It was based around him going 50, 60, or 60, 70, 80, 90?
70, 80,
60,
90.
60, 70, 80, 90.
Was 60,
Yeah,
70.
60.
Okay.
Yep.
I got it. 60, 70, 80, 90, 500K when he hits each of those markers. The guaranteed money's 3 years, $33 million, and he's in his age 32 season coming up.
I love the deal for him. I mean, whether he wanted to start or not, that money wasn't there. This is great money to be their closer. He's never really solidified a closer role for an entire season. He's been dominant, but if you look at his numbers, yes, he pitched in Colorado for a while. That's tough for anybody who's just learning to pitch in the big leagues. But what he did in Philly, it's not going to be quite as easy in Toronto just because Philly had a lot of options, and he was never really the guy until he became the guy. So it'll be a little different when you're automatically the guy. We're putting you right in the role, so we'll see where he's at. But I think they get a good deal if he becomes a shutdown closer for 3 years, and that injury concern, maybe it alleviates whatever it is in his shoulder.
Yeah, and I want to just touch on the injury concern. It's just funny how couple different teams had a couple different opinions on everything, and then one team's like, "Oh, we're good." It goes to show you where, not maybe one doctor thinks one thing and another thinks another. I mean, it goes to show you the trust you got to have in that person, and you got to be reliable and you got to be honest in what you're seeing. And some guys might have saw something different, and the guy from Toronto's like, "Hey, man, it's a concern, but I think he'll be okay." I mean, I don't know what he said, but it's amusing. It's crazy to think that some guys no, we're not doing this anymore. Don't do it. And then you got the Blue Jays are like, all right, we're good. So a lot of different opinions.
He's been pretty healthy the last few seasons.
Yeah, that's where
you never know what's behind the hood, though, and these teams get medicals. We don't. So we can never really fully comment on what's going on there. I do know that the Blue Jays made a trade for Andres Gimenez, and aside from that, they've been able to talk free agents into coming over there this season. They've been finishing in second place a lot lately, so they need some wins. This is actually the most money handed out to a reliever during 10 off seasons of the Mark Shapiro, Garrett Atkins era in the front office. So this is a big investment for them in the bullpen, not overall. But AJ, this is the Blue Jays at least trying to get back on track here and make a late push in an off season where we look at their roster and where do you place them in the AL East right now?
I mean, they're still they're at least fourth, aren't they, in the AL East?
Yes.
I mean, the Orioles. I mean, I think you can make the Red Sox, if not fifth. the Orioles, the Red Sox, the Yankees for sure, and then the Rays. I mean, they always seem to figure it out somehow. So I think this also cost him what, $7 million? Because didn't he have 3 years, 40 with the Orioles, and that went away because of this physical? So it cost him $7 million. Yeah, I mean, good for him getting to go to Toronto. Toronto got somebody, but man, I just wish there was a way to know what was going on. Like, what did the Orioles see that the Blue Jays didn't see? Right? Like, what was it? And then he also wanted the Clay Holmes deal, and he didn't get the Clay Holmes deal. So a lot of interesting factors with this signing.
I'm wondering if they told him what they saw. I guess it's none of our business. I'd love to know, but I wonder if they told him. Maybe next time we have a pitcher on, because pitcher. I've never met a pitcher that's like, dude, bro, my arm is great.
It's perfect, right? There's nothing wrong with it.
No, nothing wrong. It never hurts.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's like, let's put it this way. It's as rare as saying AJ and I's knees don't hurt. Like that is not the common thing. Yes, we talk about it all the time, but for a pitcher to be like, go ahead, take a picture, see what's in there. Everything's going to be good. Everybody has something wrong in there.
Mm-hmm.
Even AJ has something wrong. It's just not – it just hasn't come to a head. He doesn't feel it.
Yeah, pitchers are even easier to scrutinize when you're looking at medicals. Yeah, especially if it's a guy that's been pitching for a while.
There's a lot of red flags in there.
Yeah, the one other thing to keep in mind here is that what ends up happening is the Blue Jays get Jeff Hoffman, who was on the Phillies, and it's a big loss to the Phillies bullpen. They've done some other things. The Phillies picked up Toronto's closer, Jordan Romano. Now, Romano's on basically one more year and costing a lot less in terms of a long-term commitment, of course. I think he's making 7-ish this coming season, but they kind of swapped closers just now, so we'll see what happens, right? I want to track those two. I like tracking two guys that have storylines that are carrying through. It's like you chose this free agent over this free agent. All right, let's see which one plays out better this year.
We'll see. Jordan Romano probably has the bigger upside, but he has probably the lowest floor too.
Very low floor based on injury past. Yeah. The Blue Jays said, AJ, we don't want to give him the 7 and change because we just don't trust the arm. I mean, we're talking about medicals here. They kind of told us how they felt about his medicals because if he's healthy, he's worth that.
Yeah, I mean, Hoffman did struggle in the playoffs last year. Go back and look at him against the Mets. He struggled. So maybe there was something going on in there. I don't know if his velo was down, but yeah, the Blue Jays, that's exactly what you said, Scott. They basically swapped Hoffman for Romano, and we'll see which one works out better. I mean, Romano obviously has a lot more closing experience than Hoffman, but if Hoffman wants to be a starting pitcher, we'll see if he can hold up because it's been a while since he's done it. It's been a bit, so we'll see if he can do it, but it's going to be interesting to see how these two end up.
Mm-hmm. Thoughts on Toronto before we close the book on this?
It's another piece.
Yeah,
it's another piece.
What's next? Santander?
That would be great.
That one makes sense. I'm wondering what's going on there. Anyone else think Santander is a good fit for Toronto? Haven't we all talked about it?
He's a good fit for a lot of teams.
Yeah, he is.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, because he hits the homers, but
they need offense. The Blue Jays offense was crap last year. They have good defense. Now it's even better with Jimenez.
But do you think they're just going to go and plug him in and be like, I know you're not great, big on base percentage. Now, compared to his batting average would be low, so his on base percentage
he's a low 300 guy.
300-ish. But career high 44 homers. He's like an every other year kind of guy. Is he going to hit his 40 homers there? Clearly, it's like if he's the guy that they're automatically penning in as their 40 home run guy, I just don't know if it's that fit. Because why would he even sign there without Vladdy or Bo still being around and all these pitchers going out just because they give them the most money? Yes. Blue Jays have known they're not giving the most money. They have been known they just don't do it. They're not giving out the most money.
You think someone else is going to outbid them for Santander? Who is it? AJ, who am I missing? Because we saw the report from Ken.
Right now, it doesn't look like anybody. Because if there was somebody out there, he would already signed. So I don't necessarily agree with that. Blue Jays are in that position where like the Nationals were when they signed Jason Worth. They're going to have to go out and overpay. The Tigers had to do that, right, with Pudge and Maglio Ordonez a couple years, like in 05, 06, like when they got Pudge to come in 04, and then they got Maglio to come, I think, in 2006. You're going to have to overpay to get guys to come there because they don't believe in what you're doing, I don't think. And in order to go to Toronto, guys are going to have to get overpaid unless they get developed in the organization or they're traded for.
But if you look at both those cases, the Nats had like their 4 number 1 picks coming up. The Tigers had that ridiculous starting rotation coming into the big leagues, like with Anibal Sanchez. So I think the Blue Jays are the exact opposite. They're coming to an end. Shapiro has just crushed this minor league system. And now it's like, why would you sign there other than because it's the most money? And if you start dropping Santander down into 3-year range, I think, or whatever, if he's getting 3 from the Blue Jays and they start dropping down, like I feel like other teams will jump in, but not at the price that they're at right now.
Okay. And then a little baby signing on the back end here. Jorge Lopez, 1 year, $3 million, $500,000 in performance bonuses and some stuff for games pitched, all that to the Nationals. And I mean, he's bounced around quite a bit, but he's a nice middle relief guy to add some depth to a Nationals bullpen that's going to need some help.
Yeah, hopefully he's got his glove with him. I'm busting out. No, that was
you got to provide context. No, I don't think that's a shot. It's funny.
No,
it's part of his legacy.
It wasn't
I think it's
shot.
funny.
I was being funny.
Yeah, but you got to. I got to explain. He last year.
Yeah, go ahead.
He was the one who chucked his glove. What was it, into the seats?
Into the
when he was
threw it right over the net.
I thought it was no big deal. I think a lot of people took it way too personally, and
Agreed.
then I think
Agreed.
he felt like he was
just
misconstrued after the game and all that. So I'm like,
Yeah.
who cares?
Maybe just
Like we got bigger crap to worry about, AJ, than someone throwing a glove one time.
Also, if you look at the Mets record, since he threw that glove is when they got hot. So when he said they're the worst team and this and that. So maybe he should have got a playoff share from the Mets because apparently he got him going when he chucked his glove in the stands.
That
True.
is true.
So
That
you
is
sign
true.
him, then you trade him, or you release him, and then you take off. But he's a well-liked guy in the
such a nice
baseball
guy.
world. So I feel like
Good fella.
people don't know him enough. So then they just look at that one moment. Oh, this guy.
Yeah.
He's actually he's been around the league for what 8-9 years now. I want to say something like that.
I mean,
I'll look him
Milwaukee
up.
is when I played with him first. He was kind of up and down in Milwaukee, and then his All-Star season I think was 22.
9 years. He started in 2015 for 5 seconds, and then really got going in I guess 2018. A cup of coffee 2015, 2017 with Milwaukee, and then he started rolling.
I mean, I see him as a really nice guy. He's an awesome dude. He's always smiling, engaging. The Nats see him as $3 million for a dude that had a 2.03 ERA with the Cubs down the stretch after he got rid of that glove that was clearly giving up runs.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't that bad with the Mets. I gave credit to the Mets when it happened. If they felt like this was an issue, not arguing if it is an issue or not, they got rid of him. They said, nah, that's not happening here. So they kind of set a standard. But they did get hot after that. But
Maybe they were looking for a way out there. I don't know.
Where are we on the Nationals then, Top Father? So they added Nate Lowe and Josh Bell for some punch. Lowe at first, Bell at DH. Trevor Williams is back.
yeah.
Mike Soroka, Ahmed Rosario, and Lopez. To me, it's like you're filling out more depth around your roster.
100%.
But are they better than the Phillies? Are they better than the Braves? Are they better than the Mets?
No, and no.
Yeah.
I mean, they're like I was just you took the words out of my mouth. They're just. I'm not saying these guys aren't good, but they're filling up spots. But it's nothing that's going to blow you out of the water. It's just something they needed guys to fit in these spots, and these are good ball players. But are they going to blow you out of the water? No.
Mm-hmm.
Are they going to be dominant? Most likely not. So, will they be in games? Of course, every team is. But at the end of the day, it's still going to be an uphill battle for them.
AJ, I mean, I know you talked about wanting them to do something like Alonso, but clearly that's not happening. So I'm just wondering if we think that they'll kind of come to the rescue and maybe grab someone like Santander. That could be a spot for him. They need some more thump, dude. They've got a lot of guys like Cruz and Wood that could be really good. Abrams already is really good in my mind, but I mean, they clearly need another piece or two if they're going to make any noise, even for a wild card this coming season.
This was I've said it a million times. This is the spot I thought Alonso would end up, but they went out and got Nathaniel Lowe. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what they're going to do. But right now, if you look at them, they're the worst team in that division. And or well, actually, sorry, they're the fourth worst. The Marlins clearly aren't even trying. So they need to make the next move. And I don't know what they have in their farm system, but if it I know Cruz and Wood and those guys have already come up, but do they have any pitching in that farm system? What do they have in order to compete? Because if you're competing with the Mets, the Braves, and the Phillies right now, you're going to have to do more than what they've done. I mean, Lopez is a nice piece, but that's not going to compete with the other three teams in this division.
My hope for the Nats is that James Wood doesn't come into his own this year and 35 to 40 homers, because then they would have been pissed that they didn't go and get that guy. They didn't go and get that guy that would have, like AJ said, the Pete Alonso. If they had Pete Alonso in there and then James Wood is hitting his 35 or 40 homers, which I think he's capable of because he can go oppo with the best of them, now you're like, dang it, I wish we had gone in on somebody. I wish we hadn't gone 1 year deals with so many guys and bounced back and not brought Finnegan back. Like, what?
I think they're trying to get sold, and so they're really tightening up right now. I'm not using it as an excuse.
So just filling up the roster.
I've been a fan of what they're doing. I thought they've built back up pretty well.
Tough division.
Very tough division to keep up with.
Tough league. National League's tough.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we'll step aside. We'll get ready to talk to Will Sammon, who put out some notes with Ken Rosenthal this past weekend, and he also covers the Mets. So we'll get into the Pete Alonso offer to his team. All right. FT fam, shout out to HelloFresh. New little offer if you're new to the party for new subscribers. I'll get into it in just a second, but it involves many, many free meals. So let's go down the line. What are you craving from HelloFresh?
Anything Italian for me. They got some really good Italian food.
Parm, pasta?
Yeah, man. I dominate that all day.
Yeah? What about you?
They got this like fire breaded chicken thing that I just got it in the mail, put it in the fridge. I can't wait. I can't do it tonight. Got basketball game tonight, but tomorrow night it's gonna slap.
You refereeing?
What? No.
Oh, all right. I didn't.
I don't.
He can do a good ref impression.
I like my life.
Yeah. I got a lomo saltado-ish Peruvian dish that they do that I really like. AJ, you're last.
I'm just hungry listening to you guys. That's it. I'm just starving listening to you guys. I love all those things you guys said. And Kratz refereeing would be hilarious because he would give out texts like we're giving out HelloFresh. I mean, come on.
Quick.
Hey, they've got 15-minute meals now that are done in 3 simple steps so you can eat better. There's more options even since we started working with them. So go check it all out. 50 meals to choose from on the menu. It changes each week. So you can get whatever you're looking for. You can get your allergy preferences satisfied or just your dietary preferences. So here's the deal. Up to 10 free meals and a free high protein item for life at HelloFresh.com/FT10FM. 1 item per box with active subscription. Free meals applied as a discount on the first box. New subscribers only, varies by plan. That's up to 10 free HelloFresh meals at HelloFresh.com/FT10FM. Talking to Will Sammon from The Athletic about some notes that he laid out, including potential shorter-term deals from some of the bigger free agents left on the board. Here we go. Will Sammon from The Athletic joining us right now on Foul Territory. You got the whole crew here today. Will, thanks for joining us. And I'm just going to get right to business because you put out a great notes column, and we'll get to Pete Alonso, but I'll just start this way. Will, do you think that we're going to see some of those 2-3 year deals with opt-outs after each year that are rolling out for players beyond Pete Alonso where it would be unexpected?
We certainly could. And thanks for having me on, guys. Yeah, I think with both a couple of those guys that we mentioned beyond Pete Alonso, whether it was Anthony Santander or Jack Flaherty, those were two players that, from what we gathered, from what we understood, those guys were looking for longer term deals, but they have to sort of look at the market and see what the market is telling them, and they're still there. So perhaps they're not going to get those contracts that they may have were seeking in the first place. So they have to be open to it at the very least. But like we always say, it only takes one team, right, to make that sort of offer to kind of go above and beyond, or to kind of meet the player where he wanted to be anyway. So there's certainly a possibility that it doesn't come to that. But clearly, with the Alonso news of him being open to it, or at least open to it as it pertains to the Mets, it has to be something that other players have to consider as well.
Can you give us a little insight into Alonso, what the possible AAV is? Because if he's downgrading himself from, the reports were Prince Fielder, that's since been squashed. But you think 5 years is what he was thinking. Now, if he's telling the Mets, okay, 3 years, are we looking at possibly a record-setting AAV with like an opt-out type of thing for Pete?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, his agent is Scott Braun. And so usually when guys are going to sort of either concede in terms of the years or whatever, they're going to want to have the team or the club meet them halfway, right? Or at least meet them with something else. And that something else could very well be a record AAV. From the Mets standpoint, though, I mean, they just did a deal with Sean Manaea, and Sean Manaea will talk to reporters today for the first time, so that's top of mind for me. But they did a deal with Sean Manaea that included deferrals to also bring that AAV down a bit. So that's something that has also been on my mind as well in the context of Alonso. Could that be something that comes to mind as for Alonso's deal, the idea of deferrals? He's also obviously a Scott Boras client, Sean Manaea, so it wouldn't be unheard of in the context of the Mets here. But yeah, I think that's certainly something that could be a possibility. When I first started reporting the Alonso Mets talks negotiations, it did seem to me that contract length was a sticking point. And look, I mean, from Boris's standpoint, from Alonso's standpoint, Christian Walker got a few years, right? So I think it only makes sense to ask for more when you're Pete Alonso and you are younger and you have that track record that he has. Now, again, like I said above about the market as it pertains to some other players, the market just may not be telling him that that's there for him, unfortunately. So the best thing for him could be to take that kind of deal, but we'll see what that means as far as the Mets and their willingness to go to sort of a record-setting AAV for that short-term arrangement, or perhaps something similar.
My question is this the first time you ever heard of an agent reaching out to a team saying, hey, this is what we'll take it or leave it? You don't usually hear about a player going to a team saying, hey, I'll take 3 years. I know I was looking for 5 or 6 or the Prince Fielder deal, but guess what, Mets? I'll take 3 years to come back. It's a weird situation because I've never heard of that before. Usually Scott Boras just sits back, right, and lets team come to him. This time he's actually aggressively going out there.
It was new to me. Jim Duquette, who was, of course, part of Sirius and SNY here in New York, he was the first to sort of relay that. And when I saw that, I was like, that's interesting. It's definitely something different. But, this is a different type of situation with Pete Alonso and the Mets. I mean, he's a homegrown guy, fan favorite. Fans here really appreciate him. I know he didn't have the season that maybe he wanted to, but even so, it was still a pretty darn good season. When you look and take a step back and just look at the raw numbers there, like they're still pretty solid. We're talking about somebody that's sort of proven in New York, is as durable as he gets, plays almost every single day, not an everyday player, plays every single day. And of course, his power is elite. So it's kind of a weird situation, or a different situation, unique, I guess maybe be the best word for it. And just his relationship with the Mets, I think, is something that really matters here. And so if he wants to continue to be a Met, this may be the best avenue for him.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of strange because you heard that what Boras came out and said, and then all of a sudden, like, it's been kind of hush, if you want the truth, like this whole kind of scenario, besides what he came out. I want to ask you a question about the Mets as well. Do you think say they get Pete Alonso or they don't get him, what's the next move for them? I mean, I'm sure they have another move that they're going to have to get, man. Maybe it's another relief pitcher. I mean, say they get Pete Alonso, are they done? Do they have other things in store, you think, or is that's going to be the final piece?
Oh, no, definitely. The Mets still have some work to do here. Clearly, their big move was Juan Soto. But then since then, I had reported around that time period that, look, they were going to be aggressive, but they were also going to try to be a little bit smart here with more like that mindful approach to maybe not going so long on contracts. Clearly, Juan Soto, 15 years is in a whole nother realm of a discussion here. But what I'm saying is that they seem to be a little bit more, I guess, cognizant of wanting to do shorter term deals. And so those types of arrangements could be something to look for, whether that's with a relief pitcher. I had reported earlier last week that they had met with Tanner Scott. So he's a name that could be out there for them. There's so many others on the relief market right now. So there's that. Plus also, I don't know if they'd necessarily be done with the lineup for that matter, even if they were to re-sign Pete Alonso, because we had also reported that they had interest in Teoscar Hernandez. There's been some other guys as well that they've reached out to kind of see if they were open to that sort of short-term arrangement. So they could still use some help at DH or, perhaps a little bit even more with the outfield mix as the, Teoscar Hernandez pursuit demonstrated.
Hey, Will, I want to ask you about the Marcus Stroman trade rumors and how they're pretty complicated right now because of that vesting player option. I actually didn't even realize it was a vesting player option. I remember reading about it, but then forgot that if he hits, I think it's 140, right? Then he can go ahead and give himself another 18 mil for the season after. So how does that complicate things in a world where teams and owners have trouble eating money? Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. It's an interesting situation for the Yankees just because there's also so many different free agents out there. It almost reminds me a little bit too of like the Mets and their situation with Starling Marte, who's also a trade candidate. There's just so many outfielders that are still available. So part of me thinks like, okay, like if you're interested in someone like Marcus Stroman, why wouldn't you just sign someone similar who is lingering in free agency rather than make a deal? I suppose it depends on the club, right, and what they're willing to part with and what's more attractive to them as far as money or prospect or whatever the cost is. So that's part of it. And that to me, I think is something to really watch out for with the Yankees, just because it seems like they want to free up some money. And Stroman, just because of where the rotation stands and how it's looking right now, it looks pretty good. It looks like that could be an area to trade from. So it seems only logical to me. But the flip side is that there may not be a whole lot of teams that are looking to do that type of deal right now, at least just because of the amount of pitchers who are out there that are accessible via free agency.
If he doesn't get moved, who do you see moving out of that? Because the Yankees are one team that signed big-time pitchers that are not looking to do a six-man rotation. Does Stroman get moved? And does that make a brutal environment for the Yankees? Or because there's a case where nobody picks him up, like you just said.
Right. I've had this conversation with a couple of clubs who are kind of in that similar boat, maybe not as fortunate as the Yankees, but still, like they seem to have like an amount of pitchers that doesn't necessarily reflect a 5-man rotation or even a 6-man rotation. There's clubs out there that could run 7, 6, that kind of thing, whether it's the Arizona Diamondbacks, even the New York Mets have a handful of like those depth type of guys as well. So, the answer that I usually get is kind of a boring one, but it's like, hey, we're still here in the first, second week of January. A lot can change. A lot of injuries can still occur once spring training rolls around. So I don't know. I wouldn't be necessarily surprised to see these teams go into spring training with those sort of surplus of starters, just because you never know. You never know from like internally, like if you're going to have that need arise, it would be good to have that sort of extreme level of depth, but also another team could sort of suffer an injury and they become a little bit more desperate to make a deal with you.
Hey, Will, what's the most surprising thing right now about the current state of the market? Are you surprised that so many relievers are still on the board, some of those mid-range starters? I think if you told me from the top tier that guys like Pete and Bregman were still available, I'd be like, okay, that seems to happen almost every year now. But what about more of the mid-tier guys on the market in other areas?
You know what? I really like Jack Flaherty, actually, as a pitcher. I think that he really proved himself from where I'm sitting with the season that he just had. I know he had to accept the pillow contract last year, heading into last year in the last offseason. But for me, where I'm sitting, I feel like he really shouldn't have to do that. So for me, that's my guy as far as who surprises me the most. I think that a team will be smart to pick him up. again, at the beginning of our conversation here, I was talking about, hey, the idea of a longer-term deal that he was interested in, and maybe he doesn't end up with that. Maybe he doesn't end up with that 5-year contract, but I think on a 3-year deal or something like that, that's something that a team would be, be in their best interest to land somebody as good as him. Because we have seen teams, do the 1-year type of deal with guys, and I just don't know. I just feel like Jack Flaherty is that guy who's kind of proven, he's demonstrated. You kind of know what you're getting from him at this point.
That was my guy. That was the guy I was going to ask about. Where's Jack Flaherty going to go? What's his market? Because we haven't heard much about him. You kind of beat me to it, but that was like him. Obviously Alonso's a big name. Bregman, we kind of narrowed it down a little bit to the Tigers and the Red Sox possibly. But where is Jack Flaherty? We haven't heard really a peep about him.
Yeah, we did a lot of reporting on him leading up to this week, but lately I haven't heard too much. And I bet right now, today's the day where he kind of signs with somebody out of the blue. But that's just always how it goes. But no, we had heard earlier some interest, some mutual interest for that matter, with the Baltimore Orioles before they went out and added a couple of pitchers, including Charlie Morton. So would be a little bit surprised if that was still the case there. Detroit Tigers, kind of same thing, but they've yet to really add to their pitching group there. So we'll see. Other than that, there are teams that have been kind of floated around within the pitching context, whether it was like the Braves or the Giants or the Blue Jays, basically your sort of list of teams that have been thrown around for better or worse when it comes to really any free agent. So other than that, it's been quiet, probably more quiet than I would suspect, just because, like I said, Jack Flaherty demonstrated a lot for what he's worth just this past year, and he's still on the younger side of things. He's one of the rare guys who is below the age of 30 still. So I just think he presents a pretty good opportunity for clubs.
My guess is that they're picking on him. Sorry, Kratz, for the situation with the Yankees at the trade deadline.
Where they thought they saw
the Yankees
something
flunked him.
Thought they saw something, maybe the back or something.
He proved to be okay for the most part, but that's my guess. And then other teams are like, oh, well, the Yankees said there was a problem.
Something.
Yeah.
But that's
my guess.
That's right. Will, tell me if I'm wrong, but this is where teams are sitting there going, well, and I think you even wrote it. Your exact words were flawed, also an imperfect free agent. The teams that don't sign these guys, imperfect free agents, the Mets already signed the one perfect free agent, and he's not really perfect at $765 million. But you sit there and you go, if teams always look at it as, well, what's wrong with his back? What's wrong with? I give the credit to the Blue Jays. They went and got Hoffman. Supposedly two teams failed his physical, and the Blue Jays still went and did it. And the Blue Jays were a team that we criticized for saying, well, it's kind of imperfect. It's kind of imperfect.
Yeah, you're always going to find something wrong with somebody, right? You don't have to look too hard to find that with a player. Again, not to bring up a different guy, but also Alonso, same thing. I feel like the entire industry has fixated on the things that he doesn't do quite well, whether it's play elite defense or whatever. How many first basemen are playing elite defense anyway? That's not a premier position.
Yep, exactly.
To get that, right? You're looking to get defenders who are up the middle, whether at second base, shortstop, center fielder, catcher. At the corners, a lot of front office people, a lot of lead decision makers will say that's an area where we could be decent at. We could afford to be not as good. So I don't know. I kind of do. I'm with you on that. I kind of get a little bit tired of hearing about, hey, this guy's not so great at this, or this guy's not the best at that. Whereas hey, with Pete Alonso and other guys, they do some things remarkably well that they should really get some credit for as well. So I feel like that could be said about Jack Flaherty as well. He's a guy who, his strikeout numbers were kind of off the charts. So, if he's dealing with something, or if he was dealing with something, he did awfully well with that issue. So I like him. Like you said, we could write, and we have written, that there are imperfect free agents, and even Juan Soto at his years and his number of millions of dollars that you had to give him, that's an issue in itself, right? That you had to go that long and that much money committed to him. So there are things with everybody that you can look at. The only guys who kind of come to mind that are perfect maybe are those 20-year-olds, whether it's Yamamoto or Sasaki, who is going to get international money anyway. But that's just it. In free agency, you're dealing with guys who are around the age of 30. And at this point in their career, they've demonstrated how much they should be valued. But on the other side, there's some mileage there. So naturally, there's going to be some flaws. But when you're trying to improve your club, you should be looking at what they're doing well in regards to just how much they can help your team out in terms of wins.
This is kind of a Mets question, but also just an overall broad question on the free agent relievers market. It's been kind of quiet. What are we expecting, and are the Mets, because I feel like the Mets at the beginning of the offseason were like, man, if we had a deeper bullpen, we could have maybe taken down the Dodgers. We could have maybe, gone further. Are the Mets a team that are going to be, once this market opens up, the Tommy Kahnles, the Tanner Scotts, the Kenley Jansens, are we going to get the Mets at the top of this bracket here? Or is David Stearns going to be like, you know what, I built a bullpen out of 40-man roster cast-offs in Milwaukee. We'll do it again here.
So it's interesting that you mentioned the Dodgers in relationship to the relief market, because I've heard that on both sides of it. On the agent side, you'll hear them say like, hey, the Dodgers showed us just how much you should be investing in relievers because they pretty much rode their bullpen throughout the playoff run and won the World Series. But then on the other side, you talk to some club executives and they're like, well, how many of your casual fans, or even some who are diehards, how many people can actually name their whole bullpen? And how many names do you get to before you start stumbling a little bit with who's who on that list? And that's another sort of point, right? Is that the Dodgers, they kind of built their bullpen a little bit, maybe not internally. They did end up with like waiver claims or signing some guys, but they were a little bit lower on the radar, some of those relievers that pan out for them. And so some teams, like you mentioned, the Mets, they do like to do it that way and save money that route. Because relief pitching, unfortunately, it's more of a volatile position. Of course, you don't know exactly what you're getting year to year from certain guys, even the best ones. But as it goes with the Mets, I think that they're still going to nonetheless add 1 to 2 relievers. And I do know that they are shopping at the high end of that market. Whether or not they get one of those guys remains to be seen. No guarantee there, but they are at least showing that they're operating a little bit differently in regards to their relief pitching than they did their starting pitching, because with the starters, they did not really look too hard at the top end of the market, whether that was Corbin Burns or Max Fried or whoever. They were more content with, Sean Manaea, Frankie Montas, those types of guys. Whereas with the bullpen, they have met with Tanner Scott. There are some other guys, whether it's Kirby Yates or AJ Minter, who have come up in some conversations that I've had. So that could be something to look for. But yes, they're definitely in the mix for that. But it's a kind of a weird dance, like where you were alluding to there when you mentioned the Dodgers, because it's, on one hand, you see the value of it. And I would argue that I'm with you there with, if the Mets had just maybe 1 or 2 more pitchers, perhaps they make a better run at that series. But on the flip side, a lot of teams like to save money and they like to go the route of development and trying to hit on some guys who are either in their farm system or waiver claims or what have you.
What's the word? Surplus value. Oh, man.
Love it.
There's nothing like a good surplus value in a front office meeting. Will, great to have you on. Really appreciate it. Great work all offseason, too. Been reading all of your notes that you're putting together with Ken, with Katie Wu, with many others, Patrick Mooney as well. So check out Will's work on Twitter. Just type in his name, otherwise in The Athletic. Thanks, Will. Great to talk to you.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate you. Will Sammon with us on FT. Swinging right back to talk about Tommy Kahnle's market and a sleeper team for Alex Bregman. All right, we have a winner from Friday's bash. Now, we played in the tournament with everyone during the day, the bounty tournament. No one did that well. There it is. Everybody that got bounced would then sign a baseball and hand it out. I think I had to pay someone to take mine, but some nice video that turned into an evening of cocktails, broadcasts. The Poker Big League live stream was very, very entertaining. And yes, very entertaining. AJ twerked his way to the golden bat and a title. AJ, congratulations. There it is. Is this your first golden bat?
I actually have another one over here with Johnny Damon's son. It's not as pretty, though. It's not as gold either.
It's beautiful. But what does it say on there?
BetMGM's Foul Territory Big League Stream Champion.
Wow.
Kratz might have his smaller trophy, but it's amazing how much bigger my wood is than his.
That is not a lie. You won. You're made of glass, but that bat is made of wood.
Oh, man.
It is really, that's the winner. Worthwhile.
25 G's to
25
Worthwhile
Gs.
to the charity. That's awesome.
Yep.
And it was exciting.
Look at that face. That is pure jubilation.
That is a
That's
great,
right.
like that looks exactly like any other championship. Like
It
I'm
does.
telling you, and they did such a good job in that room. Like it was, I had a lot of fun. I don't know
told
about
you guys
AJ,
it was
but
going to be top end. It looks like World Series of Poker. I mean, you saw what the broadcast looked like, AJ. It's like we're seeing the cards, we're seeing obviously all the camera angles of
That's
everyone.
really
They've got
cool.
the little photos up, but at the end of the day, it was AJ versus Doug Minkiewicz, and AJ's known him for a long time, and he played him so good on this one hand. We were talking through it, AJ, and we're like, we know him too well.
Yeah.
Like if he was doing that to me, that would have been the one hand where I'm like, oh, he's got a royal flush. I'm getting out because he's like, oh, I'm not paying attention. I'm just going all in. And Doug's
Well, it's
like,
because I had Brett Myers next to me. I had Brett Myers next to me in my ear the whole time.
holy
I'm your
cow.
coach. I'm your coach. And I was like, what do you think here? Oh, yeah. And then he finally got up, and then I could actually play. But the best part is if you watch the final hand, Doug and Kevin Franzen think they win because they had a pair of aces. And I'm like, I have a top ace-high straight that just, I mean,
It was a royal
kind of
straight.
Wow.
He hits the royal
slaps
straight.
your aces.
Hits the royal straight. They thought they had a pair of aces. I think he had like ace 8 or something. They're like, yeah, we got it. He just slams it down.
Oof.
And I mean, great epic hand. And I got to be on the broadcast. You had some unbelievable hands.
Yes, he
like
did.
your hands were so awesome, but you didn't screw them up either. Like
No, he played him.
He played so
played him.
well.
That's what you have to do to win. Spreading rumors. So John Heyman tweeted about the Tommy Kahnle market, interest from 8 teams. He said relief market finally opening up. It's about damn time. We get your boy Tommy paid. Mr. Changeup.
He should just get paid more for one pitch. He doesn't have to throw anything else.
No.
That's a nasty.
Do you think he'll use the changeup even more going forward based on his playoff performance, or it gets a little bit unrealistic at that point? No?
I don't think. I mean, is it going to go up? I think he was 65% during the regular season.
That's the spot.
It could go up. He said it doesn't when he was on. He said it doesn't like put any more stress on his arm or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
He still got velocity. Could it go up a little bit? Yeah. Is he going to become like an 85% changeup guy? No, I don't think so.
Wasn't Hector Neris at one point ripping the splitter at a
crazy rate? He was.
That thing was more like a forkball.
It was filthy.
But it was never a strike. So teams,
I know,
what he always did good was when teams stopped swinging at it, then he'd be like, and he still had 96, 97 to pump in there. So, but he does a little tightrope act. Tommy doesn't quite do that tightrope act. I just don't. It's not going to be like it was in the playoffs. That was a cool story for the playoffs. He was riding the heater, just kept throwing the cambio.
My guess is AJ Tommy wants to go back to the Yanks, but I don't know if the Yanks will feel the mutual interest at the price level that he might get elsewhere.
He always ends up at the Yankees somehow. If he doesn't sign with them, he'll get traded back to him. So, I mean, listen, I want Tommy to get a job, but as far as the changeup goes, I mean, it's always been high 60 to 70% changeup. Tommy Kahnle. It's not like anything changed. He just threw more in a row than he'd ever, and it became such a national story because it was like Lance McCullers when he threw 40 straight breaking balls in the World Series that time.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, listen, whatever it takes at that point to get through it. And the biggest thing to me was finally, was it Shohei? Finally, somebody sat on one and hit it. Everyone kept swinging at it like it was a fastball. I think finally Shohei was the guy who finally is like, all right, I'm hitting a changeup. And I think he missed a home run by about this much. And that kind of broke the Kahnle streak there for a while.
The thing that bothered me was when we did the live stream, when we had some players on, we were doing like a watch along. And one of the players, it was either Rook or Pasquantino probably because they were on with us. They're like, you can't afford to miss when it's a fastball, that one opportunity. I'm like, but it's been 35 in a row.
Yeah.
I'm like, when do you say, hey, I got to prepare differently for this pitch?
Because even if you sit on the changeup, and it's not necessarily going to be a strike.
Yeah.
And your timing's got to be perfect. And you don't know which way is it going to come towards you? Is it going to go down? So I think it's true. When he does throw the fastball and it's first strike, you can't miss it because the changeup is that hard to hit. It sounds so
You're
crazy.
never going to get one.
Right. That's what I was saying. But he got in their heads because he was having success with it. I got to give him credit. Although now they have Devin Williams. So they got Another nasty change
They got all-
in that bullpen.
well-
I want to hear what AJ has to say because you just talked about Vinny Pasquantino, Brent Rooker, Todd Frazier, AJ. Would you have sat on the changeup?
1,000,000%. Dude, I
Okay,
hit
good.
like that my whole life. The only chart I wanted to see was a count chart. Give me a count chart. Give me a count chart, and if I find one and I get to that count, I mean, it's like poker. I'm going all in. I'm acting like I ain't paying attention. All in. Bye-bye. That was the key.
100%.
That was the key for me because everybody falls into it. Every pitcher has a count somewhere along that they – and for me, it had to be like 60%. I mean, Kahnle threw 30 how many changeups in a row? Dude, if I'm going up there, especially left-handed, and I know that ball's going to be going away from me, I'm just waiting for it. Eventually he's going to throw me. If he blows me a heater by, hey, way to go, Tommy. Guess what? Here comes another changeup.
I'm glad you said that because if you had said, no, I would have stayed on the heater. Like, obviously, you're always ready for the heater, but that's how I hit. Chase Utley was like the greatest at knowing, like, hey, 2-1. This guy always goes to this. If I get 2-1, I am selling out. And the same thing. My number was 63% or more. Why I picked 63, I have no idea. But if it's 63% or more, I'm sitting on it. Obviously, the difference is AJ was a better hitter than me, so he hit it more often. But, like, I would still miss it. But that was I forget. There was a splitter dude for the White Sox. Short guy. I'm thinking, like, Tupman or Upman. I forget. He was a White Sox, and he would throw like 75% splitters. And guys were like, it's impossible to hit. And I'm like, it's just it's just a slower fastball that just kind of goes down in the zone. I'm like, I'm sitting on it. I hit a dinger off him. Like,
Boom.
I remember that kind of thing.
You don't remember this guy's name and you hit a dinger
Little
off him?
humble
Come
brag
on,
right there.
What is this
It's not
guy?
a humble brag. It's a brag.
AJ, you're Mr. White Sox.
You know what I'm talking about?
This
It
name's
was
not ringing a bell for me.
2015.
I was long gone by then.
Was it definitely 2015? Now you got me thinking, and we're preparing for some breaking news anyway, so give me a second.
14, 15.
15, I'm here. I'm looking through the list. Hector Noesi, Eric Johnson, Scott Carroll, Matt Albers, Nate Jones, Frankie Montas, Chris Beck, Kyle Drabeck, Junior Guerra, Javi Guerra, Alexei Ramirez. Well, no, that's a hitter. But I'm
Alexei
looking
Ramirez
for...
didn't pitch. He should have, maybe.
How many homers did you have?
No, he
Alexei!
did. He did pitch. He pitched one inning. That's why he's
How
on the
many
pitcher
career
list.
homers you got?
But none of those guys are ringing a bell, right?
No, none of those are.
2016?
Might have been 14.
Might have been 14. Now you're bothering me because
I know.
I'm
It's
like, who
bothering
is this guy?
How do you not?
Good luck.
Good luck, Poppy.
all right, well, I give up.
I'll figure it out.
All right, let's go over some semi-breaking news. Ready? Roki Sasaki is going to be talked about a lot over the next 30 minutes on the show. Let's start here. He is not signing with the San Francisco Giants.
Womp
This
womp.
news, according to Susan Slusser, she said the Giants have been told that Roki Sasaki is not coming to SF. Then she replied to her own tweet and said, per Zach Manasian, who's the GM of the team, on the Verlander call, they were talking about Justin Verlander. The Giants did meet with Sasaki in person. So I personally considered the teams that he's meeting with as the finalists. He's not going to join a team that he didn't meet with. He met with like 8 teams. And it sounds like he will not be going to San Francisco. So he has ruled them out. Called them off. Thoughts from everyone?
Still going to the White Sox.
Still not going to the White Sox. Great way to start.
No, just one of those deals. It's San Fran again. I mean, they do get guys, don't get me wrong, but it seems like when it comes to California, it seemed like to be the odd man out, in my opinion, recently at least.
Good for him. Good for him telling them.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it might piss people off right away. The Phillies were pissed when they didn't even get a meeting. I think the Red Sox didn't get a meeting, if I'm
Correct.
not mistaken.
We just
but-
found out the Blue Jays got a meeting from Ken Rosenthal this morning. That was a late one.
because it also helps. It also helps them because if you look at how you have to spend your international signing bonus, dude, the Dodgers just lost out on this very high upside dude that the Dodgers were going to sign. I think for like 1.6, 1.8. Pirates got him because they withdrew. They said no, we're not because we have to wait. And this guy was like, well, I'm going to sign before January 15th. So ruined his career. Went to the Pirates.
You're right. For the Giants, it actually helps them a ton on this international signing class so they don't lose anyone, and also so that they don't end up trading for international signing money that they don't need. AJ, this is my big thing, and we're going to get into this. coming up on the show, but we can start here just to get everyone's opinion. If you're him, you've had plenty of time to decide where you want to go. I'm not putting this on him. It's his choice. It's his life. It's all good. But he's had plenty of time to decide where he wants to go because this is not officially decided yet. And I know he can't officially sign until a couple of days from now. You have a ton of teams that are in helter-skelter mode that are looking to potentially acquire more money to be able to throw his way international money-wise. And you're going to have a lot of prospects affected by this. If there's 4 or 5 teams that think they're in it, then the prospects, some of them have said, hey, on January 15th, if you don't sign me, I'm going somewhere else, or I'm going to try to go somewhere else. Some guys are going to pick up money. Some guys are going to lose money. I just think it's going to cause chaos, and it's over one player. Ken Rosenthal warned us about this, remember?
Mm-hmm. There's a reason why it was pushed back, wasn't it? So they could meet the new signing.
Yeah, and get a little more money.
Get a little more money. I mean, I don't know. It's just get it over with. Like, can we just get this over with? Like, we got what, 2 more days, so he has to pick. Like, make a decision. You already know where you want to go.
No. I
What
don't
do you
think
mean,
he's going to decide on the 15th. It's between the 15th and the 23rd. The 15th is when it opens up.
Oh, yeah, I thought
the
it was the
15th is when
15th too.
things get really crazy. But this is what I'm saying.
I thought 15th was the day.
No, the 15th is when most of the prospects sign because they've got agreements since they're like 12-year-olds, right? And
he already knows.
It sounds stupid, but it's true.
He already knows. Just sign.
I know he already knows. Then he should be giving an answer already because he's about to mess up a ton of other players' livelihoods. It's true. It's not his fault. It's the system's fault, but this is a real problem in the game. That's why it's being talked about right now.
So
we should bring in Ben here right now and ask him about it too.
Well, we're going to break, and then we'll talk to Ben Badler from Baseball America, who's all over this story and the international signing period scene. All right, so just to wrap up thoughts, because then we're going to talk to Ben about this. The problem is if you're a player who since 14 has had an agreement with the Padres, you're supposed to sign on the 15th, okay? And Ben's probably listening now, so he can help to clear this up once we bring him in 2 minutes for the TV crowd. Now it's the 15th. Padres call. I'm just using them as an example because they're in the sweepstakes. They go, hey, sorry, we're still in the running for Roki. We can't actually do this deal officially yet.
Any money.
And now if I'm him, I'm like, screw this. I'm trying to find another team because it's me. This is my livelihood. And you might get Roki. And then if you do, I don't have a team. So AJ, I'm just trying to think of the rest of all these ball players, many of who it's international signing period. Many of them are coming from situations where they really need this money and they need to get these deals done. And this is their time to shine. And obviously to get over to Major League Baseball into an organization. So it just messes a lot of crap up. If it's one team that already knows now, it's much easier. They tell the guys, hey, we can't sign you. They open up money if they need for Roki, and they even trade for more money, right? But this could be multiple teams causing problems.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I understand it's his right to do all this, but I don't know. And my other thing is, like, how many of these guys actually become stars? I just go back to the Braves in 2016 or whatever it was, whenever they got in trouble for what they were doing. Like the main guy, I was Ben about this, was a guy named Maton, right? He didn't turn out. He signed for all this money. He didn't turn out. None of those guys ended up making anything. So I don't know. I mean, Roki Sasaki could come over and be the greatest thing since sliced bread. I don't know. We'll see how he does. But I mean, if you know your team, what are we waiting for? To build the suspense? Like, just pick your team and move on. So the other teams, I don't know. It just seems it's one of those weird situations that I hope we figure out a way to fix and make this a better for everybody, not just for Roki Sasaki.
I think you're going to get the classic, this is a one-time situation thrown our way. Don't you?
I would say maybe they're right in that sense, but I would say Major League Baseball as a whole needs to do a much better, and even the Players Association needs to do a much better job of taking care of the youth prospects in the Dominican.
Mm-hmm.
We put a lot of money into Team USA. We put a lot of money into other prospect things. I think the Dominican Republic needs to be taken care of also because of how many young players are down there.
Yeah. They contribute a lot to our game.
A lot. And we need to give it back.
Secret meetings. That's what we have.
Recruiting Roki Sasaki with Ben Badler from Baseball America. Yes, it's a great little animation to start. You haven't seen that one?
I haven't
No,
seen
that
that
was-
one. Did
Oh,
I
good,
miss
good.
it? Ben, what
Yeah.
did you think of that?
That was give somebody a raise there. That was pretty good.
That was good.
Okay.
He has secret meetings, and there was apparently another one with Toronto. But let's start there, and then we'll get into the details of how it affects other players. Where is Roki Sasaki going to end up, Ben Badler?
I mean, I still think the Dodgers are probably the favorites, right? I mean, if we were been talking this time last year, we would have had them the favorites. It seemed like they've been strong on him for a long time. Everything seems to line up in their favor right now, with the exception that they have a little bit less money that they could potentially offer Sasaki compared to pretty much every other team out there. But we're talking a difference of like $1 million or a little under $2 million for a guy who's could wait 2 years and could have signed for $200-300+ million. I don't know that that's going to make much of a difference for him in terms of like what that ultimate difference in signing bonus offers is. But yeah, I think the Dodgers, the Padres still remain the favorites right now, but there's still about half dozen or so teams right now that at least think they have some type of chance and are in the mix for him.
I'm not sure if you heard what we were talking about in the break, but should
Yeah.
this be streamlined? Should for the fact of the other teams who are not really in it, like he's essentially made his decision. If he has a week between the 15th and the 23rd to make the decision, he's made his decision, or at least down to 2 teams. Like, is it fair that he's holding these other teams hostage, essentially, or holding their international bonus and their international signings hostage?
Well, I think most teams know at this point that they're out on him, that they're not going to sign him. For those handful of teams, they still think they might have a chance. Yeah, I mean, if he has made a decision and hasn't informed them yet, certainly those clubs and all the players who are committed to sign with those clubs would certainly appreciate a heads up. But I think most teams at this point know, like, if they're definitely not in it, then they know that they're definitely not in it at this point.
So what is the ceiling? Not ceiling, but what is the actual, like, hey, this season that he's going to have is going to be compared to whose first season of pitching in the big leagues?
It's tough. I mean, you think about like the other Japanese players who've come over in recent years, whether it was, like a Tanaka or Darvish. Those guys are a little bit older, a little bit more polished than Sasaki. I mean, he's still 23 years old. He's the same age as some prospects who are still in the minor leagues right now. So I think he'll come in right away and be a very good starter. And I think he has the chance to ultimately be a number one and ace because his stuff is just ridiculously good. But whether he, is able to translate that all right away, I don't know. But I think ultimately he will be a future number one in a rotation.
Do you think once he decides on where he's going, it kind of the snowball effect for the rest of the starting pitcher? You like a guy like Jack Flaherty. Do you see him like coming off the board right away, knowing that these handful of teams, if not more than a handful of teams, are looking for that starting pitcher? Do you see more guys all of a sudden, boom, bang, here we go, the free agent starts up again?
Could be, yeah. I mean, Roki is definitely the top priority he's the most talented guy, so probably there are some teams that are waiting on him, and then once he makes or once he announces a decision, or once it's known where he's going, then yeah, I could see some more dominoes start to fall. Maybe not even just for him, but for other free agents. Once teams pivot and realize, all right, we're not getting him, we got to go to our plan B now.
Every time we talk about Roki, I have to look at his numbers and his innings and the fact that his velo is dropped. You're talking about a possible ace. To me, I feel like there's a lot of question marks around him. Does that bode better for a team like the Dodgers in the sense that they're okay with not pitching, a guy, that's not even a six-man rotation. The innings he put up last year were 100, I think 100 and 111, and then his velocity goes down. So a team like the Dodgers, does that bode better for him because he's like, well, I can't go to 180 and be the Blue Jays ace or be, on a team that doesn't have a deep rotation?
Yeah, I think that's one of probably the biggest concern that clubs I've talked to have with Sasaki is that durability factor and durability risk with him in terms of the velocity. Like, he's still throwing pretty hard, and we don't know, like, was he just trying to take something off and hold something back this past year, knowing that, hey, I want to make the jump to Major League Baseball after the season? That could be part of it. But yeah, I think certainly the Dodgers having a six-man rotation already lined up for him to pitch in that schedule that he's more accustomed to pitching in Japan definitely lines up as I think a favor in their factor here.
Ben, tell us more about what we should be talking about. So you've been writing about this over the last several days. It's going to affect many teams and players. So wouldn't it be nice if we got a decision in the next 24 hours? I know he can't officially sign, but we can get reports that he's going to sign with the teams. Because take us through the international situation that we have usually during these signing periods. Don't most players sign on the first day because they've had agreements for years?
Right. So, yeah, these players, like you were saying earlier, Scott, these players will reach agreements to sign with players years in advance of the start of the international signing period on Wednesday. They've had these deals in place, some of them since they were, a lot of them since they were 13, 14 years old, sometimes even younger than that. So January 15th is this like huge day of celebration throughout Latin America, especially in the Dominican Republic and Venezuela, where all of these players who've had deals in place for such a long time are finally able to officially sign. But if a team thinks that they're still in the mix for Sasaki, they're not going to sign anybody on January 15th, except for maybe guys who are going to sign for $10,000 or less, because those bonuses don't count against your pool, because you need to make sure that you have as much money in your bonus pool as you can keep in there to be able to offer that and maximize your offer to Sasaki. So there's a bunch of teams right now where they're not going to sign their players on January 15th unless they're told otherwise by Sasaki, hey, we're not signing with you. So you still will have a bunch of teams around the league who will sign their players as January 15th as normal, and you see all the signing photos come out on social media and all that. But yeah, you have a bunch of players right now who are waiting in limbo, who are wondering, hey, am I going to sign with this team that I've had an agreement with for a long time? You got other teams calling these players and their agents and their families saying, hey, don't wait around for Sasaki to make a decision. We'll offer you more than the deal you have right now. So we've already seen one case of a player who was going to sign with the Dodgers he's going to now sign with the Pirates. And some players may end up signing for less money because of the fallout here. This player, Darryl Morel, is going to get like $1 million more because the Pirates came in and are going to give him even more money. So because there are players like that who've continued to develop since those early agreements have been in place and are maybe just now better prospects. And there's a whole bunch of teams that still have uncommitted bonus pool money to spend. So like right now in the Dominican Republic, Venezuela, there's all sorts of like chaos going on right now and all this back channel dealing where there's a whole bunch of committed players who might be changing teams at some point in the next maybe by the time we're done talking here up until the next week or so.
We talk about free agents always trying to get the most money ever. I don't feel like Roki Sasaki is going for the most money because he can't really try to get the most money. Is this a good decision by him? You alluded to it. The fact that if he waited 2 more years, he would be getting essentially, from what I see, more than what Yamamoto got. So is this a good decision for him? I love it because I get to see him in Major League Baseball. I'm not trying to watch highlights of Japanese baseball to watch one of the best pitchers in the world, but is this a good decision by him?
In terms of maximizing his, financial gain, I would say no, because I would agree with you. I mean, he probably would get a comparable contract to Yamamoto. I mean, maybe Yamamoto accomplished a little bit more in Japan than Sasaki has, but I think Sasaki would have done the same by the time he came over. If Sasaki was a true unrestricted free agent today, he'd probably be right to ask for a similar contract. So he's given up a lot of money. It seems like he very much just wants to come over and pitch in MLB right now and try to make as much money as he can in endorsement deals off the field. But just in terms of the money, he's taken like a 95+% haircut in terms of the money he's going to get had he waited a couple years.
Do you take anything, Ben, from some of the reports we just got over the past 24 hours? Sounds like the Giants are out. The Blue Jays are a late in, as he's only going to sign with a team he meets. I can make that guarantee for him. It's not going to be like, I met with 8 teams, and I'm going to choose this team that I don't know much about or haven't had a conversation with.
Yeah, just the fact that they met with him has to be encouraging. I'd heard some chatter about the Blue Jays, but probably like you guys, where you look at it and you're like, well, if you're gonna come over to MLB right now, like you're obviously not coming to sign the biggest contract you can get, so you probably want to go somewhere where both you can maximize endorsement opportunities and also go somewhere where you're going to compete on a playoff contender for the next 5-6 years. And Toronto certainly is not as in that kind of position relative to these other clubs that we're talking about, both in terms of the major league team and their farm system that we have ranked in the 20s right now. So it would definitely be a surprise to me if they ultimately ended up signing him, but just the fact that he was willing to meet with them has to be at least something of an encouraging sign for them.
Can you hit on the endorsements part of it? Because some fans should look at it and be like, well, he would be the face of all of Canadian baseball. Like, he would be a marketing god for the Blue Jays. But teams, tell me if I'm right or wrong, teams can't offer endorsement deals for somebody. But is that one of the reasons that the Blue Jays got a secret last-minute interview? Like, hey, his agent's like, maybe we got this new offer that's not from the Blue Jays, but just because he would be the biggest ticket in Canada.
I'm not sure. I don't know, but the agency is sophisticated enough to know what the marketing potential is there and endorsement earning potential is for him if he were to go to Toronto. I think maybe one thing that could work in their favor is Toronto wants to spend a lot of money. They're clearly trying to spend money, it seems like, but there aren't, players aren't signing there. I mean, some smaller level signings, but they clearly want to spend money. So, hey, if he goes to Toronto, there are rules MLB has about what you can officially say to a player, but you can also, if you're the Blue Jays, lay out or intimate, hey, like, if you're looking for an extension, we clearly want to spend a lot of money, and we're having trouble having other players take our money. We would love to have you come here, and they can't maybe officially say sign a long-term extension here, but there can be some sort of messaging or understanding that that could be a potential scenario in the near future for him.
All right, one more for you, Ben. Do you think that chaos will ensue on Wednesday? Because that is the day when the international signing period opens up. Do you think that teams will be confused? The ones that still think they're in for Roki, do you think players will start flipping? Because it does sound like there has been somewhat of an ultimatum that has been handed out to some of these clubs, right? Dodgers, Padres, I would say, are at the top of the list, since many people think they're the 2 front runners for Roki Sasaki. If you're one of those international players that has had an agreement with them for years and it's the 15th, and they're like, we can't commit yet, aren't you saying, I'm going to scramble to try and get a job elsewhere and try to get some of this bonus money wrapped up with another deal with another team?
Yeah, I think it's already, that chaos has already started. It's already underway. We've already seen one player flip. We're probably going to see some more. There's already teams that are behind the scenes making offers or putting out feelers on these players who are committed to other clubs, and the agents realize, like, hey, we got to do what's best for our player. We don't want to be left scrambling for something if Sasaki signs with this team where our player has an agreement with. And I think you'll probably start seeing some trades too, as early as the 15th, because you can't trade international bonus pool money until the signing period officially opens. You could line up a deal before then and then just execute it on the 15th. But I also think some teams are going to start making trades, even if they don't know for certain that they could sign Sasaki, but if they still think they're in it, it might be a way for them to show Sasaki, hey, like, we're all in, like, we're doing whatever it takes to get you. We've already lined up all this bonus pool money for you. Like, you don't have to worry about us having to, work out, to trade for the bonus pool space to maximize the offer. It's probably going to take multiple trades to do. So I think the earlier teams can do that, the better position they'll be in. So you could see, I think you could start seeing some trades happening pretty soon.
Great insight, Ben. Always enjoy the combo with you on Hot Sheet on the Baseball America YouTube channel and podcast page. But thanks for chiming in on this one. We might chat again soon if we get a little more information.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate you. You can go follow Ben Badler, of course, on Twitter, and check out his articles at Baseball America. Go throw a subscription their way. All right, 2 fan questions on Roki, or maybe 3 if we have time during the break here, and then we'll do For the People and answer a bunch of other questions around baseball. Rally Squirrel asks, does Japanese media benefit from these superstars lingering out their MLB decisions? Of course, AJ. I mean, the longer it goes, as much as you hate it, it gives them more of a topic to cover because they have less to cover than we do because they're mostly covering the Japanese players.
And that's any media too, though.
Yeah.
In any country.
Hey, we're talking about it, AJ. If he decided in one day, just like the NBA offseason being done in 2 days, then what do you talk about for the rest of the offseason?
I don't know. But if you already know, just tell the teams. That's all I'm saying. Like, if he doesn't know and he genuinely doesn't know, then write it out. And yes, I'm sure the Japanese media loves it because it's more time for them to talk about it. But, I'm just saying, once you know, make a decision. Don't play it out.
Yep. Jen in the chat, isn't this the same process Shohei went through? Yes. He couldn't sign for big money. So that's what made it much more interesting. Every team is in play. It goes from a bidding war to where do you want to play?
And go back and look at Shohei's first few years. Like, everybody knows Shohei now. His first few years, there's a assimilation into the big leagues. There's an acclimation into the big leagues.
Mm-hmm. D-Rod said, what's the max min that Sasaki can sign now? Why not sign until 25, 26 and be a free agent then? Great question. A lot of people would do that, but he wants to bounce from NPB out in Japan, and he wants to play here. He wants to play with the best. Got to respect that.
Yeah.
He wants to play Major League Baseball. He's costing himself potentially $200 million on this first contract.
Yep.
Now, if he's damn good, he's going to make up for it on the back end. Ohtani did the same thing. How's he doing? Is he pretty wealthy?
Oh, yes.
Yes. So it is what it is. I mean, he's 23. It's the MLB rules. You can't sign for a Major League free agent contract until you're 25 internationally. Right or wrong, it is what it is.
Yep.
Yeah. So I give him credit. I mean, we might have had to wait 2 years. Now we get to see a very talented pitcher in our league coming next year.
I love it.
Yeah, it's cool. Good for you. All right, many other questions, and you can keep them coming right now if you're watching on YouTube. We're coming back on TV, but we're going to take the YouTube questions because we love you. For the people, we're answering questions mostly from our YouTube chat. If you're watching on TV, you can still get involved. Just type in Foul Territory and give our show a little like, a little subscribe, and then you can still watch on TV. Just ask the question here because this is the way to reach us. So Land, that's the account name, says, hey, Scott, where's Profar signing? I think we all said Padres, but the longer it goes, AJ, I actually think it gets a little more interesting.
Who else? I mean, that's another name. We talk about Flaherty. I haven't heard anything about Profar. I think it was just a foregone conclusion he was going to go back there. But, I mean, he's an outfielder. He has some versatility. I just don't see him not going back to the Padres because of the year he had and the comfort level there.
And I would say the longer it goes, the better chance he goes back to San Diego. Rumors are rumors, but I just feel like when there's nothing heard about it and you feel like that was where he was going to go, I think they line up. I think he liked it. Maybe I read it completely wrong. It seemed like he really had a great time when he was there.
Yes, he loves it there. I'll throw a team out that hasn't done much that I think is going to pick up an outfielder. Atlanta Braves. I don't think it would be crazy.
No, it wouldn't be crazy.
No? They're going to sign an outfielder.
Yeah, I would have said.
There aren't a lot of quality outfielders at that level available. If you believe in what he did last year, he was an on-base machine. You're all like stewing, thinking about it.
I'm not saying you're wrong at all.
I'm stewing because I keep going back to Ha-Seong Kim maybe going there.
Where?
Atlanta?
Atlanta.
Yeah, because Orlando Arcia had a down year.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't really call it necessarily a down year. It was just closer to what he normally does. The year before was ridiculous. He was unconscious. All-star season, did awesome. And he's getting to the last year of that real small extension that they gave him. I feel like Ha-Seong Kim would be able to get a one-year deal. If he's in a prove-it type of contract because of the shoulder. Do you have a shoulder or a neck? Kim.
Shoulder.
Plays really good defense. And it would be easy for him. To me, it would be easy for him to slot into that lineup.
Okay.
Not that Profar wouldn't. I just feel like
Profar's playing outfield. Kim's playing infield.
I'm saying just slotting into the lineup. I don't know if Profar. I don't know. I just think
Profar's a much better bat if you look at what he did last year and believe it.
Completely agree. And I don't know that the Braves are necessarily looking for the greatest bats. And I think shortstop is a bigger position that they need to fill than an outfield spot.
Okay. I disagree. I think outfield over infield for them. I'm saying what I think they'll do. I agree. I think they need an upgraded shortstop. A lot of Braves fans last year thought Adames would be in play, but they're not playing ball like that. Just throwing it out there. Angelo said, where will Bichette end up? Now, AJ, I'm just for the benefit of the doubt going to go with him asking that question a year from now because I don't think the Blue Jays are trading him. Well, they could trade him at the deadline, but what do you think?
They're not trading him right now. They're not trading him right now.
What's the next 12 months look like for Bo Bichette?
A lot of rumors, a lot of him, and then we're sitting here next year going, man, where will Bo Bichette sign? A lot of, I don't know. Oh, it's not going to affect me. Oh, no, I don't think it'll ever bother me. You're going to get traded, Bo. I don't know. I just think it's going to be an interesting 12 months because I don't think they're going to sign him or Vladdy. So the Blue Jays are going to have to make a decision in the offseason which one they go after. And most people think they're going to choose Vladdy over Bo. And if they do that, then we could be sitting here right now and producer lady could do a "Where Will Bo Go" video montage.
He's a Brave in July.
Okay,
there's your shortstop.
Yes, it is.
If you waited that long, you'd have to tell me where he's going to go. You'd have to tell me what kind of year he has. If he has another year like he did this past year, he'll sign a one-year deal with the White Sox and play shortstop for the White Sox.
Wow.
I'm serious. Like,
he'll sign. He has to do a prove-it deal if he does what he did last year.
But if he goes out and wins a batting title, makes his third All-Star team, now you're talking completely different. Now you're talking about possibly a Dansby Swanson to type of contract that he's looking at. So you're talking about one-year deals to the White Sox to 150 plus 200, because we were talking about him being a $200 to $300 million player when all those shortstops were signing. And if Bo keeps on his trajectory, but you can't have a repeat of last year.
I really like Bo Bichette, but you're
So
right.
do I.
mean, last year was by far his worst year at the plate. He had a 71 OPS plus. He did miss a few months of the season with a calf strain, also ended the year with a broken finger and had surgery on that, had a super slow start to the year. There was just a lot of issues for him, right? I think the chase rate was higher, wasn't walking as much, never does, but at the same time, I think he's a great bat, AJ, hits the ball to all fields, and if anything, not sure if he's a shortstop long-term, but maybe a second baseman, maybe a little bit of both.
It's just the key for him is going to be health. Can he stay healthy this year? Because he's not a huge guy. Bo's not a huge guy, so I think some teams are going to look at him and say, can he stay healthy for the long run? And if he goes out and he stays healthy this year, I mean, I think he's going to be fine as a free agent. I think teams will be clamoring over him. And I think if you would have told him a while ago that he'd be looking at Dansby Swanson contract, I think people would have said no chance. But if he doesn't stay healthy, that would be a good comp for him. Yeah,
that's good money. Dansby got money. High 100s.
Well, we're talking about 1 year Bo Bichette had, 336 at-bats. Other years, he was 159 games, led the league in hits 2 years in a row. So guys who lead the league in hits are going to chase.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to, not strike out. I get it. 29 homers, 22 homers. No, 24 homers, 20 homers. And then last year, half the at-bats, he had 4.
Look at 2021 to 2023. Just look him up. You can do it while you're watching. He was a star. He was a star.
2-time All-Star.
Mm-hmm.
3 times he ended up on the top 16 in MVP voting. That's
the good stuff.
That's a really, really good shortstop.
Okay, next one. Paul says, do you think Arenado to Boston is still a possibility? I might have sparked some of this discussion because people were asking me where I think Bregman will end up, and I actually was going Detroit still. So then they're like, does Arenado end up in Boston, which is his wish? And you guys say no?
I say no.
I say no.
I say no as well because I think Boston's going to want St. Louis to eat so much of the money, and St. Louis is going to be like,
I don't think he's going anywhere. I
think
he's going to stay.
I hope you're wrong on that part.
I agree for his sake, But the further we go down here, it's a lot of catch.
I just don't see him playing first base. And I don't think they're going to move Devers to first base or DH him at 28 years old, starting, what does he have, 8 more years on his contract?
A lot of time left. Yeah. AJ, how does this play out with Bregman and Arenado?
I mean, I think there's two really spots that are available for him, and it's those two that we just talked about, Detroit and Boston, and one of them goes one, and the other one's going to want to go to the other one. I just think right now Arenado has the power because he has the no trade. And the Cardinals made it clear they want to get rid of him. Heck, they even let him and his agent try to find a place, and they still haven't been able to find a place. So for that money, apparently nobody really wants Nolan Arenado because they know they have the Cardinals kind of by the short hairs because the Cardinals can't do anything without Nolan saying okay. And if he has to get it, whatever he has to get done to go to someplace, the Cardinals are in a bad spot with this one. I mean, I don't know. That's why teams don't like no trades and they don't like 10-5.
Mm-hmm. I hope we find out who made the connection because they had it to Houston, and Nolan said, "Not right now." He didn't say no chance. He said,
and then
"Not right now."
Houston took the initiative.
Then Houston was like, "All right, beat it. I'll find a different date."
They did exactly what I would do if I owned a team. You don't want us. We win all the time. You'll make a little more money on taxes. You want to tell us to wait? Cool. We've got other options. We're moving on.
Should have waited.
Clearly, they weren't his first choice, and that's okay. That's his right. But if they were not his first choice, they don't want to wait for him, and they didn't. Mr. Garden on the chat said, Mariners an option for Arenado?
No.
I don't think so.
No chance.
No chance? Yeah.
No
and also, I don't think Nolan even necessarily waives the no trade to go there. So I think the Mariners don't get him, and I think he says no anyway. Right, AJ?
He wants to go somewhere where he can hit. He wants to go somewhere where he can put up big numbers. He's not going to go to – I mean, all you hear about all the time is, no one can hit. No one can hit. No one can hit there. Well, he's not going to take the chance that he's the one guy that can go and hit there.
And he talk about not hitting. Like something is going on with the hitting there, whether it was the coaching or the batter's eye or whatever it is. I've seen other guys go from Colorado over to organizations. I said this before, that they were getting zero information. And from what I heard, the Cardinals are getting zero information for making a hitting plan, like we talked about earlier in the show. And then certain guys that he played with went other places and were like, holy cow, we get so much more. This is so much easier to hit. And they had a ton of success. To me, that's where he wants to go. It's a place that has that. And I don't think the Mariners have that.
Okay, so he clearly feels Boston is that place. Lastly, Todd Father,
Talk to me.
are we good with the Yankees' second, third base situation right now? Because that's actually a fit. I know they don't want to keep getting these guys that are like on the tail end, but still was a league average bat last year. He's been really good before that too. If you believe in a bounce back, Arenado, if you believe in a bounce back like they are in Goldschmidt, I know they're getting older, but they do want to improve defensively. That would improve their third base D a ton, and it would move Jazz to second, which I'm much more comfortable with.
like him at second base too.
What's wrong with that mix? Because it's too old. I feel like they keep feeling like they're picking up players that are aging, and they don't want to do that.
Yeah, I think it's a great fit. I can see the Yankees coming through there. I mean, they're a team that, not necessarily is worried about the money, but, we'll go after a guy like that. It's what is St. Louis going to get in return? You know what I mean? So
they just want money relief. I don't think they care much about anything else. Yeah,
maybe a draft pick, maybe.
Yeah, like a low-end prospect, right? I don't know if they have a comp pick. But
or Arenado would be a perfect fit there for sure.
But Arenado costs way less than Bregman would. Kratz is shaking his head at us.
I don't think they're going to do it because if they clear the money with Stroman, I think they're pumping that into more bullpen pieces.
Okay.
I don't think they're.
And I don't think you're wrong either.
I think they're still going to get something in their infield, but in that story, which we talked to Will Sammon about earlier, he said it would be a cheaper infield piece. And Arenado is not going to be a cheap infield piece.
And last thing, I know we got to wrap, but for Stroman, are they just trying to get rid of him pretty much? What do you think at the end of the day?
Yes, money done.
I think if they can,
for like anything really.
Yeah, they just need a team to eat most of the money, because in Will Sammon's article, he writes about how it's not just this coming season, but next. So you're really on the hook for like 2 years, 36 plus. And there are many comps on the market right now that are still up for grabs and probably are going to get less than that. It makes it a tough sell. Yeah. So the comp they used in that story was Martin Perez, who just got 1 year, $5 million.
Yeah.
And even if you think that's too light of a comp, if you start looking at the Lance Lynns of the world, who else am I missing right now? AJ, there's a few others that are on the market that are in a similar realm.
Kyle Gibson still out there.
Andrew Heaney, Jose Quintana, right? Aren't those guys all in the same Stroman world, AJ?
I mean, I think you get some of them cheaper than you have Marcus Stroman, but I also might not think they're as quality as Marcus Stroman when he's good. So I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of guys that are left out there that, are just waiting. Is it Sasaki that's holding him up? Are they holding out for something that's not there? You start talking about some of those guys like Quintana, Lance Lynn, those guys. Are they going to have to go on a minor league deal with an insane incentive-laden contract? I don't know. I mean, I hope they all sign. I hope they all get money. But what's holding up the market? It's getting late now.
None of those guys, I think, are going to get $18 million a year over 2 years, and that's what makes it so hard to trade Marcus Stroman.
But I think if you put all of them on a list, Marcus Stroman is
number one.
But because I think he can give you.
Quintana?
I was going to say Quintana.
I like Quintana.
10 to 15 starts that are much more elite than what those guys can give you.
Quintana over Stroman
right now,
though.
Consistent.
Right now,
I do.
Okay.
Quintana over Stroman for me, but regardless, do we think Quintana's getting 2 years, 36? I don't.
No.
He's probably getting 1 year, 15.
We don't have to trade. You don't have to trade pitchers.
Yeah.
You don't have to unless you have a super, super need. Like the Mariners, to me, have to trade one of those pitchers because they have a need to get a bat.
Right. They shouldn't have to, but they have to because of their situation, because they can't spend elsewhere. Don't spend elsewhere. Well, can't means their GM is being told can't. So we know that game. Apparently, I get yelled at for talking about that by some fans who have burner accounts of owners' kids. Anyway, coming up next, super early 2025 season predictions. One from each of us. Are the current 2025 Orioles on paper better than what we saw last year on paper?
I would not answer yes to that question. However, I would say that the current Orioles with Tyler O'Neill and Gary Sanchez and Tomoyuki Sagano and Charlie Morton and now Andrew Kittredge have a chance to be really good. I still would like to see them get one more starter. I know they're very deep in starters and they really, in some ways, don't have the room, but I still believe the loss of Burns is going to be more prominently felt than maybe they are letting on. And I'm not also convinced by the offense. Tyler O'Neill replacing Santander is not necessarily a win. Depends if Tyler O'Neill stays healthy. And if you remember, what did them in at the end of last season? It wasn't their pitching. Even without Bautista and even without Grayson Rodriguez playing a meaningful role, it was their offense. So do they have enough there? Will Gary Sanchez and Tyler O'Neill be enough of a boost? I'm not sure. And that is one concern I have with them. But at the same time, keep in mind, those young players, all of them, Westberg, Holiday, maybe even Mayo, maybe even Kjerstad, they have a chance to keep going and step forward. Now, if they all keep progressing, the offensive questions will be addressed.
I think if you read Juan Soto's face in the World Series, Game 2, he looked like he was done. Like it almost looked like I've done everything I could possibly do. I just need a little help. And he wasn't getting it. And I feel like you could see his his whole demeanor changed. He still had great at-bats. He still played really well. But it was almost like he was flat out exhausted. I think it was a must sign for the Mets. They're always for headlines. I know when I was there, they signed Beltran to a huge deal, and it was a big ordeal. But I think the Yankees are better off. I'm curious to see how long Max Fried holds up. I know from time in the game in those organizational meetings, the medical staff always talked about duration post Tommy John. And it was like a 5 to 6 year window. I think we're getting into year almost 2 or 3 post his last one. I think it was roughly close. But I'm curious to see how long that was going to last. But I think the Yankees are definitely better off moving forward. But at the end of the day, you need your alpha males to be alpha males in October. And I think that's not – I think this is going to be a big year for them to see what Aaron Judge can do in the postseason.
One H super early 2025 season predictions. We're digging in the weeds for this one. AJ is up first, and be bold if possible.
Oh, these are bold predictions.
Well, it doesn't have to.
Because what he wrote was really bold. This guy next to me in the left.
Okay.
I'm just telling you.
Now I'm excited. We're going to have to let him go last just to make everyone wait. So AJ's up first.
Mine is the Astros aren't going to win the West for the first time in forever. I mean, that's it. Alex Bregman had his quote, and I think producer lady has it for us. Guess what, Alex?
People were wondering what it was going to be like if the Stros didn't win the division. I guess we'll never know.
Well, guess what, Alex? You gone. And guess what? Your team, they ain't going to win the division. I'm going to pick the Rangers to win that division right now. I think some of their guys stay healthy. I think the Astros have had huge losses on the pitching front and position player front, and I think it's time.
What do you guys think about that prediction?
I think he's got something going there for sure.
So how would you rank it then right now if you had to pick just the first 3 in the AL West?
I would go Rangers 1. I still think the Astros are probably going to finish second, and I think the Mariners are third. I think that's – and the Angels are actually, I'd put the A's 4th and the Angels 5th. But the division has improved. That division has improved significantly. Whether it's the Angels, the A's are going to be better this year. I just think the Rangers are going to have a bounce back year.
Then I'll go next because mine's AL West related. Trout, healthy season MVP candidate. I actually think that's a bold prediction at this point. I'm so sick of people crapping on Mike Trout. I'm so sick of it. Legendary player.
Agree.
Injuries suck. But I don't think he's going to be hampered from playing a full season for the rest of his career. I still think he's got it in him. Now, he might have issues most seasons, on playing a full season because he's gotten some body breakdown. But I'm like, maybe this is the year where we get one little renaissance in terms of health. The thing that would bother me is if I saw him last year in April and was like, oh, he doesn't look the same anymore. April, he was thriving. So I'm going Trout, MVP candidate for the Angels. And it makes them a little bit relevant, still playoff shy. But it'll be a fun story to follow if that happens.
See, at least you're realistic. You say MVP candidate. I'm
not saying he's going to win the MVP. But I just think if he can do what he did in April this coming season, he was on an MVP track if he did 5 more months of that.
Which is tough to do.
Yeah, he wasn't going to beat Judge even if he played the full season out, but he would have been top 3, 4, 5.
When he's healthy for a month, and he has a month like he had last year,
Mm-hmm.
you put him up there as one of the most feared hitters in the game.
Yes.
Because he steps in the box. You're not like, oh, hopefully he gets hurt in this game and we're not facing it. You had to face him 4 or 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
He is one of the most feared hitters in the game.
Tell it, preach. So I had 2 of them, but if are we going bold or are we going early prediction?
Tell us early.
All right, so my early prediction would be Soto to win the National League MVP.
Okay.
And for the sole reason, and this might not happen, I don't know. I'm just thinking Ohtani coming back, all of a sudden, he's got pitching he's got to worry about too as well. It might take away from the hitting, and I just think Soto's going to absolutely dominate like he did with the Yankees. He's going to do the same thing with the Mets, and I could see him coming out and winning that National League MVP.
I think that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Because he's got good competition.
No doubt.
Shohei Ohtani's pitching and hitting. Woo-wee. You're going to have some problems.
No doubt. No doubt.
That's why I would say it wouldn't be right. But if you said he's going to have a exact same season as he had last year, I would say yeah.
Me too.
I don't know about MVP because it's Shohei's award until
no doubt, and that's where I'm like kind of reluctant, but at the same time, will it change now? Knowing like, all right, you're that dude, but now you got to pitch again. Remember, you're still a pitcher, so you're not worried about batting anymore. You're worried about hitting and pitching.
It's also not a bad bet to make because the National League wildcard race was pretty light in my mind. Like Ketel Marte was good, then fell off, got hurt. Lindor came on really late, but Soto certainly is capable of being number 2 in the race. And so to hit on a bet like that, it would be Shohei Ohtani, even just dealing with an injury issue for a couple months or something, and then being like, hey, we're going to take extra care of him because we want him ready for the playoffs.
I hate talking about injuries.
I know, but
we want them all
it's part
to
of
play.
our game.
But it is.
Everybody gets hurt.
Part
Mookie
of
Betts had a 6 start.
Every
he got
game.
hurt.
I picked Betts to be the MVP last year. He was on a pace, boy.
Yeah, he was.
Remember
and
that?
He missed
I
a
think
couple
you and
months.
AJ both picked him to be
Up there.
to be MVPs.
It was a great choice. He just got hurt.
He was on it. Yeah.
Mhm. All right, now we're all waiting for Erik's dumb prediction. What is it?
Orioles to win the American League East.
Okay. What was the problem with that? You're saying it's
I
it's
don't
too much of a layup?
I don't think it's gonna I don't think it's gonna be even close.
Oh, see, to me, I'm like, I don't think that's a crazy prediction.
I think it's right now. Early predictions, I think it is. They didn't go out and get anybody. And we
They
talked about
spent over $30 million
I'm talking about some
than they had on their payroll last year, and their team in the first half, people were picking them to have the most wins in all of baseball after the first half. I get it; they fell off. So do I think they are the first half team or the second half team? If they're the first half team, they're the first half team, I get it. They're minusing Corbin Burns. That is going to be really tough to get back. Kyle Bradish didn't pitch much for him. He's not coming back. I get that. But you're adding a closer. You're also adding another year of just experience under Gunnar Henderson. You're adding Adley Rutschman, who's, to me, second best catcher in the game, understanding what he did wrong, that his offense fell off. You're talking about 2 MVP candidates in the same lineup, and we're just forgetting about them too often. And I get it, the Yankees are really good, but I feel like the Orioles are undervalued right now.
I agree with everything you said, but you're forgetting about one other team too as well. I think the Red Sox are better than them right now.
I don't.
I would go Yankees, Red Sox, then the Orioles.
Okay. AJ, whose side are you on?
I think it's going to be tough for the Orioles. They need another pitcher for me. And I'd like to see them get another bat, but they're counting on young guys to take the next step, which I get. I mean, we said they were bold predictions. I think this is a bold one.
Yep. Hey, everybody's got their opinions.
Yours stinks.
It's just sometimes. That's all. Only on Mondays.
I liked this exercise. I thought everyone did a nice job of
Good prediction.
really using their brains to come up with something interesting. I was entertained. All right. When we come back to the TV crowd,
Not happy right now.
Todd Father will tell everyone why he is not happy. We have more breaking news. All right, let's do this. Don't we have a little BetMGM action to hit? All right.
You get Leo on there?
Leo just kind of turned and said, I'm still here, bro. What do you think about the Dodgers? 103.5, AJ? Over under.
It's a radio station.
True.
I'm going to take under. I think they're more like 100. I think they're like around what they were last year, which was what, 100, right at 100? Or they didn't even get to 100 last year?
No.
Nope. Team got to 100.
Yeah, so I think that's an under for me.
I feel like this might be an easy under.
Really?
I mean, when we talked about it, until I saw what the number was, I was like, this has to be like I don't even want to touch it. 104 wins is so hard to get to in this day and age with not service time manipulation, with
excuse you,
sitting guys, making sure everybody gets rest. I know their lineup plays every day compared to other teams. Their lineup is. But I just feel like their pitching is just not going to allow them to get that many wins, let alone the fact that their division has gotten better.
Yeah. And if they do have a lead, they go in cruise control as well as anyone because they prepare for the playoffs. So I'm with you guys, but I do think that they can crack 100. I think this will be a hook close one. I could see them winning like 102 or something. Yeah, but to get to 104, that's a lot. So I'll go under.
I'll stick with you. I'll go under.
Under?
Yeah,
okay.
For sure.
There you go. Everybody's happy. We all agreed.
Feels kind of lockish.
Does it?
Kind of.
I'm 50-50 on
Arizona's going to be good.
Not like the one that's coming up. I can't wait till we hit that one.
Arizona's going to be good.
Yes.
The Diamondbacks are going to be good. The Giants aren't great, but they're better. And the Padres should still be a pain in the ass.
Yep.
The Rockies. So anyway, BetMGM Poker merged their player pools in Michigan and New Jersey. So ante up, go check it out. Bigger prize pools, more players involved. Go check it out. There's a brand new nightly schedule, over $400,000 in guarantees each week. So go get after it. Obviously, we were just there on Friday in Borgata playing a little poker in person. Had a freaking awesome time. The whole crew was there. Gambling problem or concern, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Hey, guys, we're coming back with breaking news on Roki Sasaki. Things are happening. We've got more breaking news on Roki Sasaki. We're suddenly getting reports left and right, but he just told the Yankees, I'm out.
Jack Curry first reported it there.
Boy.
Our good buddy. Yankees have been told Sasaki will not be signing with them. Hey, and we talked about it before. AJ's wish is coming true, like make a decision. But actually, it's not coming true because he's just telling everybody where he's not going. He's not telling everybody where he's going. But yes, now the Yankees can go get somebody else.
Massive respect on this, though, AJ, because maybe he doesn't yet have his decision. Maybe it's down to a few teams, but call those teams and tell them they are out. Do not wait, so that those teams can then call their international players and tell them we're good. All the deals are still on. We don't have to go crazy and trade picks or trade for more international money. So are you pleased with the way that they're going about this kind of quickly now?
Yes, 100%. I'm glad that they're telling teams no, because don't make teams sit around and wait. If you're not going there, just say, hey man, guess what? I'm sorry. You guys did a great presentation. Brian Cashman, I love you, but I'm out. Peace. And that's what he did right here. And I like it. It's respect. It's respect to not only you, but to the teams that pursued you, especially with the big deadline coming up.
So does that mean both New York teams are out? You think?
Well,
or
Will Sammon, who was just on our show earlier, just tweeted, it's unlikely the Mets end up landing Roki Sasaki. He's expected to sign elsewhere. So to me, the Mets are out. When people start putting that out there, they feel pretty confident in telling
you won't just
someone
put that out there
respectable.
for no reason.
No.
West
And
Coast,
Dennis-
baby.
Yeah, West Coast. Dennis Lin reported that after he met with the Blue Jays, he then also met with the Padres in San Diego after the visit to Toronto.
If you're visiting,
Okay.
you're going all the way out there to visit.
That means you're a finalist. We had the first round of finalists that had meetings, but now we're learning Giants out, Yankees out, Mets out. But if he was with them in person, it sounds like he's narrowing it down to what? Maybe LA, San Diego, Toronto, and maybe one or two other teams.
One other.
Things are coming out today.
White Sox.
They haven't
White
been
Sox
told.
report they're going to play against him.
They haven't been
The
told.
White Sox
no.
haven't been ruled out yet.
Yep. And the A's, he's going to come in and you can watch him play against the A's. Remember how John Fisher was selling that?
That's true.
You can watch Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani
Yeah,
play.
the A's owner is actually rooting for him to sign with the Rangers because they would get more games with Roki beating that ass. That's what they want. All right, so what do we think?
Where he's going?
Does this help us tell anything, or
No.
we didn't really have any of these teams in our running anyway? So
Nothing's.
if we learn
West
the
Coast
Dodgers
for me.
are out, then
West Coast.
things get wild. Yeah,
Well,
West
we
Coast.
got one West Coast came off too, but
San
the
Francisco.
two
yeah.
big dogs are in the wings.
Right.
Padres or Dodgers, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
The whole Blue Jay thing, like,
Stop it.
actually flying there. I still think it's the
it.
Padres.
Stop
But the
it.
Blue Jays thing, is it like, man, I have to at least go and see what they have to offer? You're going in person. He knew he didn't want to go to Philly. He knew he didn't want to go to Boston. He said, nah, I'm not even talking to you guys. But to go to Toronto, it's like Dumb and Dumber. So you're
Ohtani
saying
did that.
There's a chance.
Yeah, Ohtani did that. He went to Dunedin
But
to meet with the Blue Jays,
but
and they
Ohtani's-
finished in second place.
Using Blue Jay money to maybe bid up other teams.
I don't know.
You're not using Blue Jay money to bid up your guaranteed cap.
No. My point was that Ohtani actually was interested in Toronto. It's
Okay,
more
he
of an
should've been.
international vibe of a city, and
Absolutely.
that bothers an American player much more than it bothers a Japanese player, right? If you're an American player, you got your family here, this is what we talked about, and everything's the same, the money's the same, then you're like, do I really want to go through that? And the family has to go through the regular customs, and it can start to be a pain.
Yes, it
But
can.
the international player is going international regardless.
might
He's
feel
going to be in a new country either way.
and might feel more comfortable in Canada.
Yeah, Kikuchi, I think, had a great time when he was with Toronto the last
But
several
let's call a
years.
spade a spade. You can't say that he wasn't using that money to leverage another team.
I don't think he was.
No?
No. I think Ohtani came up with his own offer just like Pete Alonso just did. And he said, hey,
He
700 mil, Toronto,
that's it?
San Francisco, and Dodgers all said yes to it. And then he said, cool, I'm going to the Dodgers. 3 teams all said yes to the 700 with the deferrals.
You don't think he negotiated up to
I don't
700?
I don't think they were playing the same games. I think Ohtani, 450 for Ohtani, and now we look at what Soto signed for. AJ, I think Ohtani could have signed for a lot more present day value. 450 was the present day value of that contract. Look at Soto's contract. He's making a few hundred million more.
I just think Shohei wanted to go to the Dodgers and tried to figure out a way to not only make himself better, but also make the team still good. So I don't think he was using the Blue Jays at all. I think he went in there. I think the Blue Jays are intriguing to a lot of people because if you're not a hardcore baseball fan, you really don't know a lot about them. And you don't know a lot about the organization because you don't hear a lot about them because they're not on TV a ton. Because I'll be honest with you, because when a national TV goes out there to do a Blue Jays game, they don't rate because you don't get the Canada rating. So they're very rarely on national TV unless they're on the road. And even then it's hard to use them. And so I think a lot of these guys that aren't familiar with it don't know much about the Blue Jays organization. So they want to sit down with them, see what they got. But deep down, Shohei was always going to LA.
Yeah. Lastly, I'll say this on Roki. if he really is not a big fan of media, which he had some issues out there where they were covering him, then yeah, the Northeast wasn't the spot for you. That is the most annoying place. If you don't want to be bothered, the Northeast not the spot for you. So good choice on that end. I'm from this area. I can say that.
So funny.
Here, so we're back. I mean, you guys tell me, you've played ball in the Northeast. If he doesn't want to deal with crap all the time, then the Northeast is not the spot for you. Philly, Boston, New York, it's a no. If he just wants to focus on baseball and he's had PTSD from other media situations in Japan, then my thing is San Diego's great, but even LA is going to be a much lighter case than anything you would deal with in the Northeast.
Agreed.
You mean easier or less people? Because LA is nobody's getting more media passes than LA.
With the Japanese market or the Japanese media.
Japanese players get a following no matter what. I came up through the Blue Jays organization. There was nothing in spring training. There was a few guys. Now I'm forgetting his names, in spring training. Then I went to the Pirates, who were brutal at that time. Akinori Iwamura was there. There was a lot of Japanese media following him.
How many? Ish.
For Aki, 5 or 6. He had already won the.
Wow.
He had already won the World, or went to the World Series with the Rays 2 years prior to that, and so they were still following him But that tripled. There was 2 Pirates beat writers, and then I went to Philly. I think there was 113 media passes that were given out for spring training in Philly. It's a totally different world. And the Blue Jays should be in that market, but they're not. They're just not a lot of media that cover day in and day out. There's a lot of I don't know what you would call it, subsidiary media that rolls in as oh, neat story.
We're
baseball.
here for the weekend.
Yeah, this is nice. The roof is open, but not like the hardcore down to the nitty gritty everyday guys.
I mean, AJ, San Diego doesn't have much out there that's following you around on the American media side.
I mean, just all comes down to what he's comfortable with and what he wants to do. I mean, again, if he's going to go to the West Coast, I mean, I guess the Cubs are still in it, but they're going to get more media there than San Diego, that's for sure. But I mean, I think it's a West Coast battle between San Diego and LA, and we'll see where it plays out. But media, I mean, New York, Boston, Philly are probably the toughest media markets in going right now, especially in North America.
AJ, if you're him, where do you go?
Quick, we got 10 seconds.
LA.
I go to LA just because I want to win. I mean, if they're giving me a spot, I'm going to LA because there's almost a 95% chance, let's say, they go to the playoffs.
Wow, I wish we were on camera for that. A good synchronized dance from Todd Father and Kratz. They blacked out. Here. Tomorrow's show features Ken Rosenthal, Jim Duquette, who first reported that news on Pete Alonso, and Brent Rooker, who recently signed the extension with the A's. We got a good
Jim's going to have some good stuff, too.
He is. He's on a heater right now.
He is.
All right, so let's cover this ridiculous story. This is perfect for slap hands. I just saw it. Mets Double-A affiliate Binghamton, which is the Rumble Ponies, are going to become, on certain games, the Bathtub Donkeys. In the 1800s in New York State, someone put into effect an American blue law stating that donkeys could not sleep in bathtubs.
That happened. Who has it? What is that like?
Well, they wouldn't do that if there wasn't a case. Like
exactly,
something happened in
1834.
There was a famous donkey bathtub case where they were like, "This stops tomorrow." Blue law.
Yeah, I would like to look more into that. I'm very confused, but that's pretty cool. I mean, look, the logo is pretty sweet too.
The logo's
you need
great,
to get one of those hats.
Yeah, AJ, that's going to be a Kratz hats.
Hopefully, yeah. I mean, he's
scrubbing his back.
Yeah, I mean, cool. I mean, all these minor league teams are trying to get attention, and so they're all going with these crazy stuff, and I like it. I mean, still better than the New Britain Rockets.
Wait, do you see this? Stemming from an incident where a donkey washed away after sleeping in a bathtub, causing flooding in the town.
They forgot to turn the water off?
I guess.
Oh, my God.
Can't do that to your donkey.
I mean, I hope
There's no cameras either.
I hope Frankie can cut your reaction and AJ's initial reaction to this story. You both were like, like that's exactly what. I mean, Rumble Ponies was out there.
Yeah.
Bathtub donkeys?
That's it. That's the win right there. The minor league teams know how to market.
They sell their marketing geniuses.
It's freaking fun. So good for you guys. All right, TV crowd, we're out. A few more minutes on YouTube to jump into a question or two and actually find out what Kratz's hat is. Ooh-wee, big guest coming up on Dodgers territory. So we're here for 2 more minutes, and then if you're watching us, you can stick around to hear what Dave Roberts has to say about the 2025 Los Angeles Dodgers. Good get.
Doc.
Yeah.
Good get.
Doc's been on. He's been on with us. He's been on with them. Doc's great.
He's a straight shooter.
He is, but he also is gracious with his time because he
very much
knows that giving a little bit of time to media and to fans is how you grow the game.
No doubt.
Those of you in baseball that don't give your time, it's not nice.
Shame on you. Thumbs down.
Well, here's the thing, AJ. I don't care about the current person. I'm a big pay it forward guy. So sometimes I feel like someone gets rich and they say they're too busy to do anything. And I'm like, are you? Or do you just not care anymore? Because you're only here because someone else did this stuff before you.
Agreed.
I watched the highlight of AJ after you guys beat the A's, and you were being interviewed.
Oh yeah, that was
I
good.
just watched it. You posted it. Do you think you could be who you are? I think you're like super genuine on camera, all that stuff, for 162 days in a row as a manager. Because I look at Dave Roberts and I'm like, this guy is this way all the time, and he has like that just like same demeanor. I'm not saying he's monotone. He's very engaging. Could you be that guy for 162 days? Because you get interviewed twice a day
at least
in your scrum and then post game.
At least
every day.
At least.
Yep.
Usually more than that, but yes.
I think everyone has good days and bad days. I think Dave does a better job of just and plus it helps that he has an awesome team every year. So I mean, it's a lot easier to be the same when you know you have Shohei, Freddie, Mookie, Will Smith, Max Muncy coming up to bat, and you have the pitching staff you have. Now, if you're Derek Shelton or you're, I don't even know, Clayton McCullough down in Miami. I mean, it's a little bit harder to be the same every day because you're going to get frustrated at some point. But I think that's part of a manager's job, but it's easier said than done for most people.
Kratz hats.
I can barely see it.
It's the
freaking Iron
Minnetonka
Pig,
Wild Boars.
Oh,
It's the javelinas of Lehigh Valley.
Lehigh Valley.
The fire pigs of Lehigh Valley steel.
Very nice. By the way, I did hit on that Ohio State when I
Banger?
talked. Yes.
Yeah, you did.
Double digit.
They won by double digits.
Dang.
Did you place for them to win by double digits? Perhaps. Maybe. Well, you gave out good advice.
At the Borgata.
And I've been told they're going to win the championship game as well.
Ooh, by who?
A friend who's good at betting. See ya, everyone. Enjoy Dave Roberts, Alana Rizzo, and Clint Pastias on Dodgers territory. Go to that page or just stay here. We'll flip you over to it.